Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us here. Keep Indiana Learning. We are so excited for our live stream today. I'm Lena Darnay. I am a professional learning specialist with Keep Indiana Learning, and I am so excited to welcome Karen Bush to our live stream today for entrepreneurship, career-ready skills. We're talking to juniors, seniors, those who love and serve our juniors and seniors. And Karen has served juniors and seniors in high school and post-secondary for how many years now, Karen? Decades?
Yeah.
She and I have worked together on many projects for high school seniors and juniors, looking at college fairs, career fairs. She's one of my favorite people, so full of enthusiasm and knowledge for this age group. I mean, she's done Learn More Indiana. She's worked with our DACA students and our first generation students, a very large assessment firm out there. And one kind of fun thing is that she was part of the University of Cincinnati before everybody knew about Cincy being so awesome.
Go Bearcats.
Yeah, go Bearcats. Go Bearcats. I love it. Well, Karen, I'm going to turn it over to you for your presentation. Thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you, Lena. Again, I am so excited to be here. As Lena said, we have known each other for at least 10 years, and she was always my go-to person. If we wanted to do something, get some information out to the kids the quickest way possible. So we've just done a lot of things together. And when she reached out to me to say, hey, I've got this project, I was so excited because one of the things that I really have a passion for is post-secondary planning. And I think that comes from when I grew up, I didn't have anyone that helped me. Now, I'm not going to date myself, but I will say that when I went to college, we had the fold out FAFSA. So we'll just put that over there in the corner. So today, we are going to kind of, at a very high level, talk about college and career readiness for students. I'm going to kind of center this conversation to our educators that are on this video chat here, but also our students can learn from this, our parents can learn from this, and I'm looking forward to working with Lena to do some more work so that we can kind of stretch this out and have a deeper conversation about college and career readiness. So we want to plan for success. We all want our kids to be successful. We want our kids to go off to college, or as we term it, post-secondary education. And when I say that, I mean there's a series of things that kids have options for. And we'll kind of cover some of those later, but it's not just your standard brick and mortar four-year university. Kids have so many options open to them. But what they don't understand is how to get to those options. The students are looking to us to guide them. They really are. But we have to figure out, how do we make sure that they have all the information to make the best decision for their future? It takes, on both parts, very active and very consistent participation. And when I say consistent, I mean, if you've ever dealt with teenagers and you tell them something one time, more than likely you got to tell them again and again and again. I know when I'm learning a new skill myself, sometimes I get it right away, and then other times I'm like, well, I think I heard them say, but I'm not sure, so I have to ask again. Post-secondary planning and post-secondary counseling is a very nuanced profession, because there's so many things that go in deep and involved with this thing. And you get to know your students, you get to know their parents. Sometimes we have to dig deep into their finances. I think a lot of kids think that parents just have hundreds of thousands of dollars set aside for them to go to school. I think my son thought that also. I have a new freshman in college this year, so having done this out in the public and having to do this in my home, it was very interesting and very eye-opening for myself as a mom, and also as an educator that gets kids into college, because my son has lived around this and he's heard it, but there were things that I had to repeat, that I had to go over, that he didn't understand. So Again, that active and consistent participation is very, very critical. So, how do you start? Where do you start? A lot of times people think, okay, we just start, we just put the information out there and they will get it. And that is far from the truth. Certain kids will maybe take hold of the information and say, yes, I'm going to research colleges and I'm going to figure out how much it costs. And I know what tuition means versus room and board. And I understand the bursar's office. And I know if I want to do this, I can go here. I know how to get there. I even have the money to get it. I don't know too many kids that have all of that knowledge package, especially by the time they're a junior. So being able to say, how do we start? How do we start this process? How do we start it in our schools? So my next question is, or my next statement is, we begin with a plan. Students need a plan, but a school also needs a post-secondary plan. What is your post-secondary plan? Now, when Lena and I worked together at this large urban school here that I love so much, our counselors were working diligently so hard. They had about maybe 400 students. They were trying to counsel through ninth through 12th grade, trying to get them in the right courses, making sure that they were taking care of those high school needs. I was hired to develop that post-secondary plan to say, what are we as a school district going to do to get our students ready for this next step into the world? And it's a very scary world out there, and you have to make sure you make the right decision. So I always say a goal without a plan is just a wish. You can say, I'm going to get 75% of our kids into college. Kids can say, yes, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to graduate in 4 years. But how are you going to do that? What's the plan? What's the action steps that you will take to work together to make sure those things come to fruition? So my first thing is I would challenge any educator or counselors or principals that are listening to this. What is your post-secondary plan for the next 4 years for your students? Because this plan sometimes it depends on how well you want to develop your plan, will start in the 8th grade. Because when those kids transfer those classes over to the 9th grade, that's when we start. And a lot of times people don't understand when you're applying for something post-secondary, it's 3 years, not really the 4. A lot of kids think, I have 4 years to get into college. You really don't. Because after your junior year, this July, and I always count the summer, you start applying the beginning of your senior year. You have no grades. You have not altered your GPA your senior year. So whatever you finished your junior year with, that is what you will apply with. So it's a 3-year plan to get them into school. And then that extra year seals the deal. We want to make sure that kids are doing the things that they said they were going to do, take the classes that they said they were going to take, so that when schools or programs admit them, they admit them based upon the information that's on the transcript. We want to make sure that has happened by June. So again, what's the goal? What's the plan? So we want to plan for success. We want to be able to help kids systematically look at certain things. And I kind of divide this up into 4 different things. And today I'm going to really dive into academic planning and post-secondary goals. But in the beginning, you want to analyze their learning style. And I'm going to refer to my 2 boys in this presentation a lot, but I just went with my 10th grader because he was trying to figure out how to do football and come home at 7 o'clock. And he's taking 3 honor classes, and he just wasn't figuring it out. And so I said, do you know how you learn best? Do you know how you study best? And he looked at me like, can I find that out? So what we did, we analyzed his learning style. We took a learning inventory. it brought to light so many things for him, because he was in this room studying in a dark corner. But it said, no, you need more light. You need to take breaks often. He's a tactile learner. So he learned a lot of things about himself. So he has changed how he is learning at home, but also taking some of those thoughts and some of those skills and taking them into the classroom. How do you take notes? A lot of kids these days will say, well, I don't take notes. Well, because I get a worksheet or I just up here. I can't, there's not enough room up in here for me to learn or retain anything. So I have to write it down. If you in my office, there's probably 5 or 6 notebooks running around here. And then I just started digital planning so I can write on my iPad so that I can keep all the information together. What we have to do as schools is help kids learn how to learn. There's a plan for that. There are goals for that, because we don't want them to become a junior or a senior and still don't know how to learn. Also, exploring their strengths and their weaknesses, that kind of ties into their learning styles. Who are they as a person? What are their strengths that they can carry into the classroom? What are some of the things, weaknesses? Sometimes talking in public, a lot of people have fears of talking in public. That could be a weakness that sometimes we try to turn it into a strength. So those are the things that we want to teach kids early, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade. And those things sometimes do change. I am a learner when I'm in here. I can have the television on, but I can't hear it. It can just be background movement. I can't have a radio on because then I start swaying and moving and tapping and then I'm up. So I know that I learn a particular way. I know my strengths are being able to read material and digest it quickly. I know that one of my strengths is also being able to deliver information effectively. But some of my weaknesses are my short attention span. So I have to learn to kind of make up for that and give myself several breaks. So these are the things that kids need to know. I didn't learn this until I was an adult. Wonder if I had that powerful information when I was in high school. And next, we're going to kind of talk about academic planning and then post-secondary goals. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into those two. So academic planner, all of my guidance counselors, directors out there, I want to first of all just say thank you for what you do. Your work is difficult. Your work is rewarding, but it is stressful because I know in some school districts we have counselors that have 300, 400, or 500 kids that they counsel every semester. And so that is kind of hard to do. But one of the things that they do help do is academic planning. Parents, students, if you don't know who your counselor is, go into their office and say, hey, my name's Karen Bush. I want to know who my counselor is because I want to meet them. Parents, your counselors are there to work for you and your student. If you have never met your kid's counselor, please make sure you give them a call. Have a rapport with them. My counselor at he's not my counselor, but my son's counselor, I call him my counselor because he's such a great counselor. He's very responsive. He talks with my kids, works well with my kids, will pull my kids out the hallway and say, hey, I hear something's going on. Who are you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? This all goes into academic planning. Where do you find happiness? Now we're going to come back to that question. Tie it into what are your interests? You're going to hear that word interest in and out of schools. And what skills do I have right now as a 15, 14, 18-year-old student? And then how do I turn all of that into some type of major and or career? These are the things that are or should be going into the academic planning. A famous person, Oprah Winfrey, who I love to quote, said, if you do what you love, you will love what you do. It took me a while to find that out because when I grew up, we didn't really have academic planning. So to find what your kids are interested in, what draws them, what gives them happiness, what gives them excitement. I'm going to go back to my 10th grader just a couple years ago. He said, I want to be a pharmacist, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to do something in the medical field. Well, 2 years later, I think with some influences, seeing some relatives own businesses and having very good success, he's now switched and said, I think I want business. I think I want law. He's found his voice. And so now his interests have switched. So he's looking to say, how can I turn my interest into a career? And that is what we really have to get our kids to understand. What do you like? What do you have an interest in? Do you like to work with your hands? I remember coming home one day, I think my son, my oldest, my youngest, they were probably in the fifth, sixth grade. They were taking the computer apart with my husband. I was like, oh my God, what are we doing? And they wanted to see what was inside of the computer. That told me then my kids are STEM kids. They lit up. The three of them, husband and two sons, have fun talking about math concepts. I don't know math like that. I've lost it. It's okay. I've lost it, and I'm proud to say that I've lost it. I shouldn't be proud, but my sons and their dad, they talk about math. They run numbers in their head, and I'm sitting over here with a piece of paper and pencil trying to catch up. But they're STEM kids. They are STEM. That's STEM part of the family. So when they got to high school, that was part of the conversation with the counselors to say, my kids are STEM, they're math, they're science, they like to work with their hands, so that we could look at some of their strengths and weaknesses. And remember, I talked about that uh, learning styles inventory to find their strengths and weaknesses and how they learn. All of that plays into academic planning. It's not just the classes, okay? Now, what does the plan involve? Again, the classes for sure. We've got our basic math, English, science, social studies, the reading, writing, arithmetic. Those are the classes that we have to take. And here in Indiana, if you're getting the Core 40 or Core 40 with academic honors, there's a certain set of classes that you have to take. But here comes the electives, the advanced classes, your AP classes, your dual credit classes, or even IB classes, and your CTE classes. Where does your interest lie? So my son was taking biology, and now since that has changed, we're going to start looking at business law, business ethics. So he's able to take those electives with what he's interested in. A lot of times kids just don't know what they want. Especially when I work with freshmen and sophomores, they're just kind of hanging out. Like, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for participating. Or as my kids say, I'm here so I won't get fined. But we have to start turning that dial with them to say, what are you interested in? What do you like to do? Because at some point you will leave the school and go on to the real world. And we want you to go with as much information as possible and with some assurity that you've made the right decision. Now, I'm going to take myself, we're going to travel back when I was in high school. I think someone approached me February of my senior year and said, hey, are you going to college? I was the first in my family to go to college, so I really didn't know what that meant. I picked my major from television. There was a show about these accountants and lawyers, and I said, I think I want to be an accountant. I was good in math at the time. So I went off to the University of Cincinnati as an accounting major in the business college. I had great grades, so I got in. And I think, oh my God, midway between the first semester and the second semester, I was like, oh my God, this is not for me. I knew nothing about accounting. I just saw on television that they made money. And that was what I thought I was supposed to do. I didn't know that You could make money talking. I didn't know you could to make money teaching. I wasn't exposed to those things, so I didn't know. We now have so many tools and opportunities for kids to get to know themselves and for parents to get to know their kids more. A lot of times, and I'm going to say this if you're a parent watching this, I think sometimes what we do when they're young, we stay close. We're right there. We know what's going on. And then as they go to high school, we kind of drift apart and say, well, you got it. You're 16. You can get it. That's when you need to move closer. And the reason that you need to move closer is because they're about to take a huge leap. And you want to make sure that that leap has some type of soft landing that you've helped them create. So you need to find out, what are their interests? What are their likes? Are they taking the right classes? If my son was sitting there taking AP World History, I would say he was in the wrong class. He likes history, but he does not want to do anything in the field of history. So I am not going to put him in that particular class. But what I will put him in is maybe AP Calculus, like I said, business law. He loves to debate. So I'm looking at speech and debate. We're looking at AP seminar. So I'm looking to take those classes, those electives, these advanced classes, and match them with his interests. Extracurricular activities. We have sports and we have band, but then at so many schools here in Indiana, we are so blessed to have so many different activities, different clubs, student government, just there's a plethora of clubs. And from what I understand, if you have 5 to 10 kids that want to start a different club, you can do so. So encourage your kid to look at what the school offers. And if it doesn't, try to start their own club based upon what they like to do. Volunteer, internships, and shadowing. Most teenagers get a job in the summer so they can make money. And that's all great. But are there times where you can say, like, again, my son says, well, I think I want to be a lawyer. So do I know of an attorney that maybe he can go shadow? My oldest wants to be a cardiovascular pediatric surgeon. I don't know any of those, but I do know a cardiologist. So what I'm doing is setting up an opportunity for him to go shadow that cardiologist so that he can see the life and day and time of a cardiologist. Where can you get your kids in front of people? If they say, well, Mom, I want to be an electrician. Can they shadow an electrician? And then lastly, short-term and long-term goals. Short-term goals, I define those as the semester. What are we doing each semester? What do we want to get? What are the grades that we're trying to get? Are there things we want to learn? Are there things we want to do? We want to get a job here. We want to do an internship here. We want to maybe TA for a math teacher. What are your short-term goals? And then what are the long-term goals? Those are yearly goals. Those should be reviewed each and every semester. This entire plan should be reviewed and updated each semester. I know sometimes they're not. They're created when a kid comes into the 9th grade, but parents, counselors, talk with your students, make them talk to you. Sometimes that's hard, but ask them, how are you feeling? What are you thinking? But I think the bell ringer conversation is the learning styles inventory, and then having a career assessment. What are they interested in? I love career interest inventories. They take about 15 minutes. There's short ones and then there's long ones. There is one, and if your school has Naviance, I am a big proponent of Naviance. If your school has it, please use it. Sometimes we buy these tools, but we don't use them, or we have them, but we don't teach the kids why they should use it. Again, that's part of that post-secondary plan that I keep talking about in your high school. I know in the high school that I worked in, we made our freshmen do a career interest inventory, and then we made them do it again in their junior year. just so that we can see, has anything changed? And a lot of times it does change. I think if I had have known that you could go buy clothes all over the world and be a buyer, I probably would have been a buyer for some large house, fashion house. But I didn't know that. So this way they can research careers. What are the expectations of the career? So if I say I want to be a cosmetologist, what does that mean? I just know I like to do hair, but you have to stand on your feet all day. And I have a couple friends that do it, and they stand from sometimes 9 to 9. Sometimes you get lunch, sometimes you don't. What's the pay structure? What type of hair are you working on? What type of salon are you working at? So you can kind of drill down into the expectations. The working conditions, again, are you standing? Are you sitting? The whole thing about the accountant, I didn't know most kind of work in an office by themselves and work the calculator and crunching numbers and looking at spreadsheets. And that doesn't seem like it would be a fun job. And I think I would have sucked at it. So that's why I'm not an accountant. Also, what's these salary expectations? A lot of kids look at jobs and say, hey, I want to make a lot of money. And that's what I did because I grew up with not a lot of money. So I looked at where can I make money? And so I just thought accounting. Going back to that quote, if you do what you love and you love what you do, you will make money at it. You really will. So looking at the salary and in Naviance, the career interest inventory, what it will do is actually tell them where in the United States the salaries differ for a particular job. And then what it does is it latches you to continued education. So if I want to do this and be this, and here's the working conditions, and I'm okay with that. Here's the education that goes along with that particular career. And here are some schools and programs that you can apply to and do your own research. But what I love about it is the word in red, interest. It is based upon your interest. I had a young man come to me when I worked at the high school. I don't know if she said, I used to be the director of postsecondary for a large urban school here in Indianapolis. And he said, I want to draw, but people tell me I can't make money drawing. And I said, well, what do you love to do? And so he said, I love to skateboard. He said, you can't make money, being a skateboarder. That was 10 years ago. What he does now, the undercarriage of the snowboards and the skateboards, he draws all of that. And he loves it. He lives out in Colorado now, and he's having the best time. And he said to me about 2 years ago, you are right, Miss Bush. You do have to just find what you love and figure out how to make a career of it. There are so many career pathways, and these that I've listed are just a few. Finance, business, education, medical, science, engineering, arts. I have a friend, her son, he's amazing. He wants to be a vet, and I just love it. He's a STEM kid, and he went to a vet's summer program and just fell in love with it. But he also plays basketball. So what we're trying to do is say, okay, where can he play basketball, be a vet, and kind of marriage those things together. So looking at the different clusters, and at some schools that I was looking at, he could actually make up his own degree and maybe not specialize in veterinarian, but do something in veterinary science and engineering. My other son said, hey, I want to make tools to help the doctors. I was like, what job is that? I don't know. But we're going to figure it out. And we're going to figure out the school that possibly to make the major. I met a young man 2 years ago. He was a light engineer. The filament within the light, the bulbs, he made those, and his job was to make them better. So there's these new career clusters and pathways that are happening and moving all the time. We have to help kids find what they love, find the cluster or create a new cluster. So how do we do this? Okay, so post-secondary. And I will always say when I say post-secondary, I mean these things right here that you see. 2-year college, the 4-year college that everyone thinks about, the military, vocational, and apprenticeship. What are all those things? So, of course, 2-year college, you can go get your associate's degree in 2 years. Here at Ivy Tech, there's some programs. One is called the ASAP program. You go to school from 8 to 5 for, I think it's 11 months. You will have your associate's degree in 11 months. Great program. Everyone is not made to go to a 4-year program. But then you have your 4-year college and university programs. You have in-state, you have out of state, you have Ivy League, you have HBCUs, you have all these different types of schools. Then you have the military. A lot of time kids go straight out of high school into the military. Some go to college, then go into the military. I know my husband went to college and then went straight into the military. My brother went straight from high school and went to the military. Great options for education, great options for just life lessons. I had a couple students. One, he actually went to West Point and played football for West Point and in the military. My family, we are a military family. We have a lot of people from HBC, not HBCUs, but from the Air Force and the Marines. So I have great respect for the military. Then you have your vocational training. What I love about schools here in Indiana, there's two things you can kind of do. Several schools here, and I know one of those, there's two schools outside the outer belt, or 3 that I know of, where vocational training is embedded in the school day. At the school that I worked at, we had vocational training. So kids could be a dental assistant. They could get their CNA license. They could get their cosmetology license, culinary, all these things they did while in high school. So when they graduated from high school, they went straight into the workforce. Loved it. Wonderful. I have a couple girls that own their own shop and do hair right now. One kid I know, he's getting ready to open his own restaurant because of the skills he learned in high school. We also have the J. Everett Light program, and many schools around here have programs that your kids can leave from your high school and go straight to J. Everett Light. Also, the apprenticeship. You can want to be, many kids don't understand that they can be an electrician, a plumber, a carpenter. They want to work with their hands. And sometimes when you say that to kids, they're like, well, they don't make any money. Adults on this, have you ever called a plumber to your house? Have you ever had the lights go out? How much are they charging you? They make great money. They work with their hands. I remember going over to the Vincent's University has a program out at the airport where they work on planes. This man said to me, I wear coveralls, my nails are dirty, but I do what I love. I work on planes. And this was back when they were installing Wi-Fi in the planes so that when you get on a plane now, you can use your phone. They were doing that. And that was his job. And he loved it. And he said he had 2 years of school. He worked under someone to learn how to work on planes. Sheet metal, great profession. So what we want to do is give our kids all of these options. Going back to that post-secondary plan that you may or may not have in your school, are you bringing those things into your school for kids to understand and to learn? We used to have our traditional 4-year, 2-year college fairs. We did that. I probably did them twice a year. Yes. But what I also did is I had a post-secondary fair, and I called it post-secondary because what I would do is invite local 511 the Realtors Association, the police department, the fire department, all of these vocations so that kids can say, I didn't know that I could do that. How do you do that? What programs do you have? Just to give them more information. I also invited the parents during the day so that they could come and have the experience with the kid. So again, I just go back and say, look at your post-secondary plan. How are you getting information to kids? Are you being consistent and are you being active? I know that we don't want to clutter email boxes, but clutter them. Give them information. CC the parents. Make sure that they know that you are providing your students with as much information as possible. I'm almost finished here, but one of the things I really just want to kind of cover is decisions. This is a scary decision. Kids want to get it right. They don't want to make a mistake. We as parents don't want to also make the financial mistake of paying $20,000, $30,000 and the kids say, well, I don't think I want to do that anymore. But we want to make sure they're choosing a career based upon what they want to do, not what their friends are doing. School is a group activity. Sports, groups, they go to lunch together, they go to class together. College planning is an individual sport. And I call it a sport because you got to know when to bob and weave, when to dunk. And you have to know what you're doing. And a lot of times kids make those decisions based upon what the group is doing. It's okay to be an individual. It's okay to be smart. And it's actually cool to be smart. And it's okay if you want to do something different from your friends. If you want to go be an army captain, or I think I said that right, or if you want to go fly airplanes, if you want to go be a fireman, if you want to be a doctor, go do that. Go live your dreams. Also, don't decide just because a field is hot. I know people say STEM, 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 STEM. And a lot of time kids are like, well, I'm just not a STEM kid. I want to draw. I want to be an art major, just like my student. And he loves it and he's successful. So find the field that is for them. And then again, don't be like me and base it on salary alone. That's probably the worst thing that you can do because you'll probably stop doing it if you don't love the career. Again, match your interest. And then also do the research. Look at all the options. And what I want to really say to counselors and parents out there, every student, their path is different. I don't know too many kids that went straight here and career, and I may know a couple, Justin Sanders, but most kids take twists and turns to get to where they want to be. I know I did. Maybe if I had started education when I was 18, I would not have found it when I was 25 or 27. So let them embrace their individual journey, help support their individual journey, what they want to do. Counselors, I know that if you don't have a post-secondary counselor in your school, I know this can sometimes be hard, but what I will be doing is doing a couple more of these, and maybe we can work together to give you some more insight about where to go and what to do, because this is just part of the post-secondary planning. There's a whole part of money, looking for scholarships, looking for money, and then making the decision. We lose a lot of kids in the summer because they just don't know what to do. So there's a lot that's involved in this. If you do have a post-secondary counselor in your school, please go see them and see how you can work with them to make sure your kids are getting as much information as possible to make these college and career decisions. Again, a goal without a plan is just a wish. I want to thank you guys so much for this time. Again, my name is Karen Bush, and I am with GBKB Educational Consulting. And we do a lot of this work, just helping kids look at counseling and financial aid and career coaching, and just looking at your transcript to say, hey, is this a good transcript? Am I ready? What should I do? So please reach out to me. I look forward to working with my friend Lena on more activities coming up soon. So thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, Karen. That was so great. It was really fascinating to hear about how the life path of students has changed. And I tell you, we had some good comments coming in from our viewers. Marty was saying how much she appreciated the CTE programs there at Ben Davis for her son. I mean, you just learned so much about on-the-job work. I thought I wanted to be a physical therapist and did 2.5 years of pre-med. And then I got a business degree, and now I'm hosting live streams. So you never really know.
Yeah, Area 31 is fantastic. They said Ben Davis. I'm just going to shout out some schools: Lawrence, Pike, North Central. They've got these great programs, but sometimes parents just don't know about the programs. So I encourage parents to just get on the website, look, learn, tear it up. And then if you're not satisfied, call the school, call the counselor. My last name begins with B. I need to see the person that does the B's. And the counselors are more than willing and happy to help you work with your students. So yes, there's so much information out there. It can be overwhelming, but if we take it one step at a time, I think you can do it. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, visit keepindianalearning.org. We're going to have more from Karen Bush in the future. And we have lots of post-secondary and college and career readiness content ready for you, all free at keepindianalearning.org. Thank you so much, Karen. Those of you joining us for the live stream, stick around. We're really excited for our next one that is starting right at 3:30. Thank you.
Bye-bye.